I will now be checking the attendance. In the count of 10, I should see all of you. Please open your cams because your attendances will be checked through your cams. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Last call for Kate, Janessa, and Candy. Okay. So thank you so much for opening your cameras. Please keep your cameras open until the end of this session. Okay? Because in today's meeting we will have our new lesson. So just for me to verify if this is the right presentation I should be presenting to everyone. Anyone who can help me remember what was our lesson last meeting? Anyone who has an idea or who can still remember? Sophia, what can you remember from our lesson last meeting?
We discuss about the story, the gift of the
Magi.
Magi.
Okay, thank you so much. So we're done already with verbals, right? And last meeting we have read and we have discussed about the story of the gift of the Magi. So I hope you have learned something from the gift of the Magi that um, the active giving and the values of generosity, kindness, and sacrifices should not only be given during Christmas season, but also every day. Okay, so I think you have learned from that. Now, time check, it's already 1:04 p.m. and we need now to start this new lesson. May I see your raised hand icons if you are ready to learn something new today. Again, kindly click the raised hand button if you are ready and if you want to learn something new for this afternoon. Okay, I can see a total of 16 raised hands icons here in this meeting, and we're a total of 17 people in this meet at the moment. Question, may I know who are not around? Class Beadle, who is absent or who are absent? Thank you, Pauline. Yeah, I noticed Marinel is not here. Thank you, Pauline. Okay, so let's without wasting more time, let's start our discussion for this afternoon. Can you now see my presentation? Can you now see my presentation, class?
Yes, Chair.
All right. So let's start now. Once again, good afternoon, everyone. And I hope we are all ready to learn something new for this afternoon. So let's start with our objective so that we will know where we are heading to or what are my expectations at the end of this session. So first, I hope that you can interpret meaningfully how verbs change depending on their relationship to time. Second, recognize the present. I'm so sorry, there should be no comma here. So recognize present and future tenses for regular and irregular verbs. And lastly, construct or write your own sentences using the different forms of tenses. Can we now start? Are we now ready? If you are ready, please send number 5. Again, if you are ready, please send 5. Let me see if you are all ready. Okay, very good. Let's start now. So yes, you read it right. In today's meeting, we will be discussing about the verb tenses. Now let's begin the discussion with a question. What is a verb tense or what is the importance of a verb tense in your sentence? Anyone? Again, if you don't know the answer, go to your friend Google. What is a verb tense or what is the purpose of knowing the different verb tenses? Okay, let's give everyone a time to research for an answer or to look for an answer for this. Yes, if you now have your answer, immediately send it here in the public chat. I will be glad to read your answers. Yes, we have here the first answer from Miles. In grammar, tense is a category that expresses time reference. Correct. From Pauline, the tense of a verb is determined by when the action took place. What else? More answers, please. I should see more answers in the public chat because there are 17 people in this meeting. Why am I only seeing 2? More answers, please. Gab, Nor, Isa, Angel. What is a verb tense and how is it important? in our day-to-day communication. Okay, aside from it expresses time reference, it determines when the action took place. What else? What are your answers? Yes, from Ira, it comes in three tenses. If you say verb tense, it comes in three forms: past, present, and future. Very good. So the past is used to describe the things that have already happened. Present tense is used to describe things that are happening right now. And then future tense refers to things that will happen. Okay? That have yet to happen. From Lawrence, it is a category again that expresses time reference. So in grammar, tense is a category that expresses time reference. That's very good. What else? Each verb is composed of a time frame, the past, present, and the future. So all of your answers are correct. Thank you so much for sharing all of these. Now, for this lesson, we will only be focusing or we will only be tackling two types of tenses. First is progressive tense, and later on, after learning progressive tense and what are the kinds of progressive tenses, we will learn perfect tenses. Again, we will only be discussing two tenses, progressive and the perfect tense. So let's start with progressive tense. So if you say progressive tense, we have the root word progress. What do you think is this? Progress, or in other words, continuous, right? So how would you explain this in your own words? Progressive tense. How do you see this? Or based from what you have learned from your
Continue.
previous classes? Yes, Miles?
The-continue pa Japon siya, so it's still continuing.
Ka-continue siya. It is still continuing. Very good. From the word progress, meaning to say it is still happening, still in progress. So we have here three kinds of progressive tenses: the present progressive tense, the past progressive tense, and then the third progressive tense. So you might be wondering, sure, progressive, Bunny, it means to say, according to Miles, it is continuous. It is still in progress. However, it confuses me because there is this past, this present, and this future. So don't worry, that is our lesson for this afternoon, and we will learn um, what are the differences of these three progressive tenses. So let's begin with the first one, the present progressive tense. So the present progressive tense, from the word present, diba? This expresses actions that are happening. Take note, ing, diba? Happening at the moment, or that are in progress. Meaning to say, at the moment, it is still happening or continuously still in progress, right? So we have here these examples. Maria is watching a television. Or for you to comprehend this more fully, to understand this tense, I'll give you a more na makarelate na sentence. Let's say, Angel is listening at the moment, or listening right now. So that's an example of a present progressive tense. Meaning to say, at this point in time, at this very moment, at this juncture, Angel is listening, right? Take note the use of the continuous form of the verb or the progressive form of the verb, ing. Next, we are choreographing a dance. So choreographing, ing for the verb choreograph. Next, the present progressive tense can also be used for future events. O sure, makalibog yun siya kay progressive, and then it can be used for future events. Now, take note, for present progressive tense, it does not only limit to things that are happening at the moment, but we can also use this structure of a sentence or this tense in referring to future events. So we have here this sample sentence. She is going to take a test tomorrow. So this is an example of a present progressive tense referring to a future event, meaning to say she is going, right? So going. So the pattern for this is subject plus the linking verbs, of course, present in form. So are, is, plus going, and then the infinitive. Now, any questions or clarifications about present progressive tense? Any questions or clarifications? Okay, none. Next, we have here the past progressive tense. So, what do we mean by this? If we say past progressive tense, it is a verb that indicates a continuing action or an action in progress that started in the past. So, meaning to say, um, Past progressive tense is referring to an action that started in the past for a period of time, and while that event or action was being processed or um, was still in process or in progress, another event occurred. So let's have here this example for you to understand better. I was riding a bike when I saw the accident. So let me ask you, class, what was the first event that happened? I was riding a bike when I saw an accident. What's the first thing that happened? Judy, riding a bike. So before daw, diba, this is referring to a past um, event or a past action. So I was riding, meaning to say he was or she was riding for a period of time. Of course, if you say magbike gani ka, let's say an hour, di ba? So taas-taas siya. While he was riding, okay, riding, in the middle of his riding, he saw or she saw an accident. So with that, the second thing that happened while he was riding, while he was still in the progress of riding his bike or her bike, she or he saw the accident. So therefore, past progressive tense again is referring to an action that started in the past for a period of time and then um, another event occurred while that action was still in progress. Are we clear with that? Claro? Okay, next. He was finishing his homework when I called. So this one, let me ask you, what's the first thing that happened for a period of time? He was finishing his homework. So meaning to say, well, gabuhat siya sa iyang homework, someone called or I called him. Okay? So the first thing that happened was he was studying for like 2 hours or 3 hours. Within that um, studying period that he spent or she spent, I called him. Okay? I hope we're clear with that. Another example. We were ordering when you interrupted. So here, um, they were ordering while still in the process of ordering, I interrupted. And then lastly, while I was visiting New York, so diba, that's the event that happened for a long period of time. While they were visiting, let's say a week of visitation in New York City, um, within that period of time, she or he lost his or her headphones. Any questions or clarifications about past progressive tense? Are you sure? Okay, sige. Next, let's proceed to the third one, future progressive tense. Oh, this one, sure, continuing gani at the moment and then anong future man. Okay, so let's understand or let's try to comprehend this. If we say future progressive tense, we will use this one for an ongoing action that will happen in the future. Take note, future gani, wala pa siya na-happen, right? Because again, future progressive tense. But this one, the event being referred to has not yet happened, but surely this will happen in the future for a period of time. So we have here these samples. John will be baking a cake. Again, John will be baking a cake. So this one, this is a sentence in form of a future progressive tense because the action has not yet happened, but it is seen to happen in the future. And that action will certainly um, happen for a period of time. Let's say, for example, say John mag-bake siya from January to December of um, year 2023. So, diba, that's quite a long period of time. So, we will say John will be baking a cake. Next, they will be painting the fence. Next, we will be celebrating and she will be coming. So, to sum up everything, take note of the patterns. So, if you say present progressive, we will use present thinking verbs. Of course, we will use is, are, diba? And then plus the continuous form of the verb or the ing form of the verb, such as Sophia is running, Miles is listening, Angel is dancing. So those are examples of present progressive, right? Um, the I mean, the linking verbs are, or the auxiliary verbs are in present tense plus the ing form of the verb. Next, the past progressive tense. Of course, your linking verbs will be, or will be in their past tenses or past tense forms. So if we have used is, that will become was. And if we will use are, that will become were. Plus the ing form of the verb. And then lastly, the future progressive will be plus shall be, or shall be plus the ing form of the verb. Just always remember, basta future tense gani, always remember teacher will Marie. We should use will, right? So will be plus shall be, then the ing form of the verb. So any questions or clarifications from the class? None so far? Okay. So now let's discuss perfect tenses. Are we all ready? Are we still listening? Kindly send number 7 if we are still alive, or if we are still ready to learn uh, some continuation of this lesson tenses. Okay, very good, everyone. Let's continue. So let's have a recap. So we have just learned about progressive tenses. Now let me ask everyone, what is a progressive tense? Anyone who can answer while waiting for my PowerPoint. What is a progressive tense? Let's ask Gab. Gab,
Sure, it's one but it's still continuing.
it is still in progress, still continuing, or in other words, continuous tense, right? So let's have a recap. What are the three types of progressive tense? You can use your microphone and tell us what are the three types of progressive tense, or just simply write it here in the public chat. So anyone who can answer this, what are the three types of progressive tense? Yes, the first one is the present progressive tense, the past progressive tense, and then the future progressive tense. A round of applause for Jade and Miles Rabaco. Thank you so much. Thank you also, Isa. So yes, progressive tense has the present, the past, and the future, right? So let's ask everyone for some examples. Let's begin with the present progressive tense. Kindly give me a sample of a present progressive tense. I should see a total of 18 sentences here in the public chat. Again, give me a sample of present progressive tense now. I can give you one. We have Marielle is running. That's a present progressive tense. John is singing, correct. He is cooking. I am reading. I am going home. Okay. I am eating. She is playing. I am listening. I am dancing. Thank you so much. Now let's have the past progressive tense. An event that started or happened in the past um, for a long period of time. Within that period of time, another thing occurred or another action happened. So how will you um, write your sentences for past progressive tense? We can say, Lara was sleeping when I arrived, right? Was sleeping. That's past progressive tense. What else? More examples, please. I cannot see your examples. Again, give or send your sample past progressive tenses. I was eating while J. Dewey washed my foot. Oy, grabe, Lord Lawrence. Yes, I was running when I saw a big eagle. She was cooking when Ronald came home. Next, Miles, he was cooking when she arrived. What else? More examples. My dog was sleeping, then he saw cat and chased it. I was reading when I heard a loud noise. We were eating. I was dancing. I was sleeping. I was eating. We were eating. Thank you so much for your sample sentences. Now we're done with our recap. And no, future tense. Sorry. Do not forget, teacher will, okay? So future progressive tense, kindly send your sample sentences of the future progressive tense. Do not forget the pattern. Will be or shall be plus the ing form of the verb. Again, future progressive tense. Kindly send your examples now. Okay, I'll give you an example. I will be dancing tonight. I will be shopping tomorrow. More examples, please. I shall be um sleeping after my classes. Okay. Lawrence Michael Madera will be eating a lot later during the party. What's wrong with it too? Yeah, they will be performing. We will be writing. She will be sleeping. What else? More examples, please. I need to see examples from G Cipher. I hope G Cipher is online. I will be watching a movie tonight. Maria will be performing today. Examples from Jade. Examples from Bon Vista, please. Please. Maria will be performing today. Thank you so much. A round of applause to you, everyone. So now I think we are all good to learn this new tense. Yes, you can. I think you can see it. Perfect tense. So I have here a question. How can you make your verbs in perfect tense? Anyone who can answer this will get an additional 2 points for our quiz next meeting or today. If napay tayo mabibig. I think napay tayo for the summative test of tenses. How can you make your verb in perfect tense? I will give you 2 points if you can answer this one. You can I will only be accepting answers through your microphone, so you have to really um let the class hear you saying the answer. How can you make your verb in perfect tense?
You add the word to, sir.
We will add the word to. Okay, let's hear more answers. How can you make your verbs in perfect tense?
Add auxiliary verb to sa past participle form, Drew.
Can you be more specific with what auxiliary verbs are we going to add?
Ano, Drew? Have, has, or had, Drew.
Have, has, or have? Yes, you are correct. You will get additional 2 points for our quiz later, Nor. A round of applause for Nor, everyone. Yes, just simply add has, have, or had before the past participle of the verb. So we have here example phrases. Has shaken. So we have the auxiliary or this word has added by um the past participle of the word shake. So that will become has shaken. Next, have joined. So joined here is the past participle of the verb join. So added with this auxiliary verb have. So that will become have joined. And then lastly, last example, had plus doubted. Doubted is the past participle of doubt. So that will become had doubted. Yes, so that's correct again. How can we make our verbs in perfect tense, just simply add has, have, or had. So just a short recap for everyone. So we know that there are different changes when it comes to verb tenses, especially if these verbs are um, like irregular verbs, right? So such as awake. So awake is the base form or the original form of the verb. If we will have that in past tense, that will become awake. For past participle, that will become awoken. So learning the different forms of verbs or knowing what are irregular verbs and what are not and how should these verbs be spelled out, especially if mag-change na ang tenses, this is really very important in um, writing sentences in different tenses. So let's just have a recap. Another example, we have the word feel, right? So feel is the original verb. So if we will use that in past tense, that will become felt. Same with its past participle, which will become also felt. So yeah, just an example of the changing of the spellings of the verbs um, whenever we will choose the different tense now. So let's define what is a perfect tense as said a while ago or as answered by Lord, diba? Just simply add had, has, or have. We can have our verbs in perfect tense. But what exactly is a perfect tense? Let's all read this one. We use one of the three perfect tenses in English to show an action that has taken place as of the present time. So if you say the present time, it is continuing in the present. So that is what we call as the present perfect tense. Again, if you say perfect time, present perfect tense, that is referring to an action that has taken place as of the present time or is continuing in the present time. The second one is an action expressing the second one expresses an action that had taken place of a past time, and that is what we call as the past perfect tense. Take note, it is the use of had, okay? An action that had taken place as of a past time. So that is perfect tense. Next, and the last one or the third one will have taken place as of a future time. So that is what we refer to as the future perfect tense. So medyo libog siya, right? So we will discuss each of these. So let's begin with the present perfect tense. Again, present perfect tense shows a connection with the past and a connection with the present. So it's connection with the past and the present. Its use is appropriate in three situations. So when can we use the present perfect tense? To answer that, there are only three situations where we can use the present perfect tense. One, if we want to show an experience. Second, if we want to show a change or new information. And if we want to show a continuing action or state. So let's check these examples. Example number one, she has seen Bridget Jones' diary. So this is a good example of a present perfect tense because it shows an experience. Okay? Meaning to say, naka-experience na siya nga nakita ang Bridget Jones' diary. Another example, she has seen a crocodile. Well, that's an example of a present perfect tense, meaning showing an experience. Another example, um, she has seen or she has attended a luxurious wedding party or wedding ceremony. So that's an example of an experience. Next, the FBI has arrested the kidnapper. Next, I have worked on this website for several years. Again, I have worked on this website for several years. So this is an example of the the third one. We can use the present perfect tense to show a continuing action or state. So meaning to say, I have worked on this website for several years. So meaning to say, as of this moment, still I am working. And I have worked here for several years. Are we clear with this one? Okay. Next, how long have you known Fred? Another example for the third one, the third situation, if we want to show a continuing action or state. So meaning to say, I know Fred or you know Fred for um, a long period of time. So the question here is, how long have you known Fred? So meaning to say, up until this very moment, you still know Fred. Okay, again, let's recap. We can only use the present perfect tense in these three situations. First, if we want to show an experience. Second, if we want to show a change or new information. Or third, to show a continuing action or state. Now, let me see your sample sentences for present perfect tense. Kindly write them down here in the public chat. Kindly send now. Yes, kindly send your sample present perfect tenses. Again, everyone, I am asking everyone to send your examples. Just don't forget the pattern, has or have, plus the past participle of the verb. Kindly send them now. Jade, Miles, Sophia, Ira, Aliana, Nor, Lawrence, kindly send a sample sentence for present perfect tense. Yes, she has finished her homework. That's correct. What else? I'll give you one example. She has managed the bar for 10 years already. Okay, diba? Diba? So, he has watched the movie. She has lived here for all her life. She has read those books already. I have known him for almost 10 years. What else? More examples, please. Let's say Miles Rabago has attended the meeting. He has written those letters already. He has eaten an ice cream. I have been to the park. Thank you so much for your sample sentences. Now let's move on to the second perfect tense, which is the past perfect tense. So how do we form this one? Or when can we use this? We can use the past perfect tense in referring to events that had happened already. So we form this by taking the past tense of have. So what's the past form of has and have? What's the past tense form of these? How can we turn them into past form? Has or have will become
Had.
had. That's correct. Sorry. Had, right? So we form the past perfect tense by taking the past tense of have into had and adding still the past participle of the main verb. So let's check these examples. When I arrived at her house, she had finished dinner. So we have here the past perfect tense had finished, right? Next, I wasn't thirsty. I had just drunk a I don't know how to pronounce this. This is a French name of basta kay mainom siya nga French na brand. Next, we were hungry. We had not eaten for 6 years. So we have here three examples of past perfect tenses: had finished, had just drunk, and then had not eaten. Now, can you show me your sample past perfect tenses? Start sending now. Again, past perfect tenses, so replace has and have into had. Start sending now. I'll give you an example. I had danced along the way. I had eaten all the food. What else? Thank you so much for your sample sentence, Aliana. How about the rest? I had eaten an ice cream. We had met before the party. When my sister arrived, my mom had cooked our dinner, our meals. She had finished her assignments. The bus had left by the time I arrived. More examples, please. More examples. I had just arrived at the mall. Okay, I think that's enough already. Now let's have the last one, future perfect tense. So future perfect tense is formed by taking the future tense of have. So how will we form our perfect tense into future tense? Into future perfect tense. Remember always, basta nagali future, remember teacher will, okay? We will have will. So we will simply put will have and adding the past participle of the main verb. So the future perfect tense refers to an action that will be completed at some definite time in the future. Meaning to say that action has not yet happened, but certainly sometime in the future, at some period, at some definite time in the future, that will happen and that will be completed. Okay. So ironically, it expresses a past in the future, that is the future tense expresses an action or state taking place before another action or a time period in the future. In other words, you will be specifying or you will be expressing two events in your statement. And you will understand it further. You will be learning how ironic it is for a future perfect tense to express a past in the future. So let's check these examples. When you arrive at the airport, the plane will have left. So in this statement, diba, this is like a prediction that by the time that you will be in the airport, the plane will have left. So that is why, as stated here, ironically, future perfect tense expresses a past in the future. That is the future perfect tense expresses an action or states taking place before another action. So again, going back to the sample sentence, in this sentence, there are two events mentioned. First is first is the plane will arrive, the plane will have left. After the plane will be able to leave, you will arrive. So here again, there's a past expressed in the statement in this future perfect tense. So when you arrive at the airport, the plane will have left. Again, always remember the pattern. If you will have future perfect tense, the pattern is will plus have plus the past participle of the verb. Next, you may call me at my office tomorrow at 8 a.m. I will have arrived by then. So still, there is a past action presented in this future perfect tense. Asa yung first nag-inform. By the time that you will arrive in the office, you can call me. I don't know. By the time that I will be in the office, um, pag mag 8 a.m. na, I will surely be there. Okay? So you may call me at my office tomorrow at 8 a.m. I will have arrived by then. So first daw siya moabot, after dayon ang pag-call. Any questions or clarifications about this future perfect tense? Again, future siya. You are referring to an action that has not yet happened, but surely, certainly, you think that that will really happen in the future and that will be completed at some definite time. Okay, meaning to say, makatawag ka sa ako by 8 a.m. because by that time, makaabot na ko sa office. Okay? Any questions or clarifications for the future perfect tense? None so far? Okay, let me see your sample sentences for the future perfect tense. He will have arrived by that time. That's correct. What else? He will have. So will have plus the past participle of the verbs. I will have finished my project by dinner time. So meaning to say, pag mag-dinner na unya, manana ko ani. Sako ang project. So the project will act as the past, um, as the prediction, right? Next, what else? They will have left by then. He will have cooked lunch by now. What else? More examples, please. I will have finished reading this book when you arrive home. Okay. So thank you so much for your sample sentences. Time check. It's already 1:40 p.m. We only have 40 more minutes. I know, 40. 10 more minutes before the class dismissal. Um, we're supposed to have this short quiz for these two tenses that we have just discussed, the progressive and the perfect tense. But I will just give you the remaining time for you to review everything or for you to have a break. So you will still have the energy but to take your um, remaining classes later. So you will just watch na lang this short video just to kill the remaining time.
Hello.
Hi.
What were you doing Sunday afternoon?
I was reading a book
Oh, cool. When did you start the book?
about a week ago.
And have you finished it?
Yeah, on Tuesday.
Okay, so you didn't read all of it on Sunday.
No, I was in the middle of it.
What's something that you started and finished on Sunday?
I visited my grandparents.
All right. What's something you did every Sunday this summer?
I visited my grandparents.
Okay, cool. We've got two types of tenses here. You said you visited your grandparents last Sunday and that you visited your grandparents every Sunday. Those are both in the past simple tense.
Also, I'll visit my grandparents next Sunday because I still visit my grandparents every Sunday.
Okay, great. Those were in the future simple tense and the present simple tense. Do you know what these four variations of your sentence have in common?
What?
You're thinking about visit as a whole thing. Either you considered one visit from start to finish, or your visits are a habit or routine that doesn't have a start or finish in sight, so you consider how it's always true.
Okay, so it's like seeing the big picture.
Yeah, that's a good way of looking at it. But what about reading that book?
Well, you just asked about Sunday, and I only read part of it in the middle, so that's not really the big picture.
When we're looking at only a portion of the time an action lasted, we use a progressive or continuous tense instead of a simple tense. Can you tell us how these verbs are different?
Yeah, they end with ing.
That's true, but there's more. You also need some form of to be in front of the main verb. Don't forget about those.
Okay.
Whether they are in the past, present, or future, progressive and continuous tenses tell us that the verb is temporary, which means we know it will finish relatively soon, but it hasn't finished yet.
But I finished reading the book on Tuesday, remember?
Sure, now it's finished, but our context was Sunday afternoon.
What do you mean by context?
It's like a window. You can't always see everything on the other side, so just focus on what you can see. If our window was Sunday afternoon, and that's all we're focusing on, did you finish?
No, I didn't. I see what you mean.
So that's an example of past progressive. What about the present? What's something you're doing right now that you haven't finished?
I'm talking to you.
That's true. We started a couple minutes ago and we're still going.
What about the future?
I think it's a bad idea for your friends to call you at 2 a.m. tomorrow.
Yeah, I'll be sleeping.
Right. You haven't started sleeping yet, but in the context of tomorrow morning, you'll be in the middle of your sleep and you won't be ready to wake up.
No way. Okay, so the progressive tense is the same, whether our window is sometime in the past, in the present, or in the future.
That's right. If you understand the progressive continuous aspect, you can apply it to any time. And all that needs to change is the form of the helping verbs.
Great.
Let's look at some variations of the unfinished usage. If we're telling a story or joke, you might use a progressive tense to set the scene.
Oh, like it's Saturday morning. The sun is shining, the birds are chirping, and I'm riding my bike through the park. Out of nowhere, a sparrow lands on my shoulder.
That's a wonderful example.
Thanks.
We can also use the progressive for an action that's interrupted by another action. Like, Tyrone was watching TV when the doorbell rang.
Or, I was minding my own business when all of a sudden...
Yeah, great. And if we want to talk about multiple verbs that happened around the same time, we might use a progressive or continuous tense for a longer action.
Like, my friend visited me while I was living in South America.
Another terrific example. Similarly, we might use the progressive tense to emphasize how long a verb lasts. So instead of, Camila took a long time to return my phone call, you might say,
Camila was taking forever to get back to me.
exactly. Now, sometimes the verb is happening at the very moment of our context.
We can see it in our window.
Right. Other times, it's not active in that moment, but perhaps it's an ongoing verb that serves a more descriptive purpose. Either way, it's already started, but it hasn't finished yet.
Oh,
And this is the difference between progressive and continuous tenses. In the former, we focus on the verb being active, while in the latter, we focus on the verb being ongoing.
maybe you can give an example this time.
Let's say Nadia is studying biology. If it's progressive, then Nadia is in her room or at the library right now, taking notes or reading her textbook or something.
Okay,
But if it's continuous, then it probably means that she's taking a biology class this semester, or she's majoring in biology, or whatever. But at this very moment, she might be sitting down to dinner with her family, for example.
okay, I see the difference, but they're pretty similar.
Yeah, because they're both unfinished. And they both use be verb ing.
And what if you want to say the verb is both active and ongoing?
You can do that because there's certainly a lot of overlap between the two. These are all reasons why books and teachers generally don't explain the differences between progressive and continuous. They'll pick one term to talk about both. You don't even need to know which is which,
Then why are you telling me this?
because you do need to know both ways to use these tenses, and that while be verb ing is often active in the moment, it doesn't have to be. It just has to be something temporary that isn't finished yet.
So we don't use it for the verbs that are finished, right? Or whenever we see the big picture?
Right. And there are some verbs that we call stative verbs, which should not be used for progressive continuous. Some of these are immediate.
So they finish as soon as they start,
Others are permanent,
so they never end.
or the end is irrelevant. Then there are verbs that link subjects to adjectives, but only the static ones are stative.
As opposed to what?
Dynamic linking verbs can be progressive continuous, which leads us to the final variation of unfinished verbs.
What's that?
We can use these tenses to show how things are changing.
Like, I was getting thirsty. After the window, I was more thirsty than I was before the window.
Yep. If we instead say, I got thirsty, we just focus on how it ended. But I was getting thirsty shows us the actual change.
Okay, I think I got it. There are a lot of variations to remember.
Well, there's a lot of ways to apply it, but what you really need to know comes down to this. For your context, is the verb temporary, and is it finished yet?
If we're just talking about part of when it happened instead of talking about the big picture, we need to use be verb ing.
That's right.
All right, class. Time check is already 1:48 p.m. So we will have our summative test or like quiz to cover the two lessons, progressive tense and perfect tenses. In our next meeting, just to prepare yourselves, we will have again a quiz for the said lesson. So I need now to dismiss the class. It's already time. Goodbye and thank you, everyone.
Bye, sir. Thank